So, welcome. My name is Christopher Mindus, and I'm going to show you how to build streamed iOS and Android applications and web applications using one Java code. Now, in this room, who knows what iizi is? I'm not surprised, really. Okay, we have a choice here. So we take the blue pill or we take the red pill, and we follow the white rabbit. We take the red, we follow the white rabbit. Let's go. iizi, what is it? It's a painkiller in any business. What is pain? Pain we've got for developers, we've got pain for users. The pain for developers is more or less that you have to create a lot of code in various environments, combine them, server-based, client-based, etc. It becomes very complex of how to do it and so on. You have, once you develop, for example, mobile applications, you go through the certification stores, the App Store, which is the worst one, and, great, Google Play, which is fairly simple. But then you also would want to create a Windows native application and also a Mac application, and those have also certification processes which are very long. The Windows one is just as extensive as the one that Android has. So it's not easy. For developers, if we continue there, you've got the problem of if you're developing with Mac, Linux, or Windows, will be able to do all of those. Because when you develop, for example, under Linux or Windows, and you need to create an iOS application, you've got to buy an Apple computer with Xcode on, because you want to have, you have to build your app in Xcode in order to upload it and publish it to the App Store. So that's a pain, really. And what iizi also does is it gives back the design to the designers and not only the programmers. I mean, think of it. I don't know how many times I've written a software and I've had to change the design over and over and over and over because, well, not idiots, but the users and the other community, they don't like it. They want to have it like this. But basically, you don't change your code. There is just a design change. So this is also alleviated. So for the end users, what happens? There's more security and data protection. There is nothing that is stored on the device. The applications are streamed from the server, right? There's a generic runtime portion that is installed on every machine that runs your application. So it saves space. Users today, they don't want to download an application that takes up 200 or 300 megs or so. They want to use it. It's already full anyway. They've got it full of videos and photos, and they can't get rid of it. They don't know how to, so it's full. And another thing that they constantly struggle with is battery. They're out of battery. You've got to. I can see my kids. They're always plugging in. So what happens when your phone dies? Your application is dead. Yeah, that's true. Then you've got the speed, the latency. It has to go very quickly. So with iizi, you've got this new gen apps that you can read on any device. So super quick overview here. iizi is then a streamed, event-driven architecture. It uses a VirtualSpace architecture or a VirtualSpace model where you actually code the application that runs in the server. And then you design and prototype a UI that is particular to, for example, a phone, a tablet, or a desktop. Why a desktop? Why is desktop different from, let's say, a tablet when the size is about the same? Well, one is touch and one is mouse-based. When it's mouse-based, you want to use, for example, drop-down menus, etc., that you do not want to have in a touch environment. So, seeing is believing. That is my motto, and we are going into this dramatically dangerous part in the presentation. So if you have your devices ready, we are going to run a demo application. Here we can see it's just kind of fun. Here it's an application in Chinese. It's our car rental demo application. You can access it live at any point in time, now, after, from home, etc. This is always online. Here it's in French. Here it's in English, and can't read that. That's in French, English. Right. So, who did not install the software? Do you want? You are on a laptop. Well, you can run the application on a laptop. That's perfectly fine. Just go to this address. Open that address. It's https://mt.iizi.co/iizi again, iizi. I put iizi everywhere, you know, because if you misspell it, you won't get to the site. So eventually you learn how to spell it. Sorry? Correctly. Just click here is where it starts. And you will see something like this. Yeah. So click on newest. And you all who did not also install? You can. Do you want to run it on a laptop instead? Okay. Do you have time to install it? Okay. So you've seen how you install it? Yeah. Are you okay? You good? Yeah. Okay. So you're good. So let's go. Then launch your application or start it or press latest session. When you're in a browser, you can click on the latest session, because what will happen now is that we will be running simultaneously a parallel session over all your phones. This will show you that iizi has a capability of real-time collaboration like Google Docs, but for any app. So you're actually sharing a session. The purpose of iizi is not to do this, but programmatically you could develop new type of applications where you have a common area in the application. For example, a shopping basket. You're at home and your mom is in the shop, and you want her to shop something, and she can show you via the video or something like that. And you enter, no, it's this shoe, these shoes I want, etc. You can participate within the same session. You could also have, for example, a hotel booking system where you're there and suddenly you need an advice and you don't want to talk to an AI robot. You want personalized help. You click on personalized help. The person will be notified and can go into your session, go and talk to you live over voice over IP to your session, stream over iizi, and then guide you through, okay, what do you want, sir? So it's really high luxury services, for example. We can do any type of applications. There's virtually no limit. So if you've launched it, you should be seeing the car rental application coming up. Have you launched it? This is a video pre-recorded of how it looked like with multiple screens. These are all connected together. If you're playing with the application and looking at your devices, if you're interconnected, you might be running a couple of sessions, so you might not be all together. I don't really know, I could check. But this is what is actually being shown. Now, I will also bring up the browser here to show you what is actually being shown on this is what you're actually running on at least one session that is a browser session. Right? Who's seeing this screen? So let's see here. We can go in and make a new reservation. Yeah, we are there. Okay, everybody's playing. We make a new reservation and we select a car. Do you get the changes on your screens as well? Now pick a car. So you see, you pick a car. So you can work from any place. And this is pretty interesting also. If we select the location, we'll be seeing Google Maps. And just watch what happens. And now change you. Zoom in. And look at your own device and the other guy's device at the same time. See how it reacts. I don't know the latency time. What's the difference in time? Is it half a second or almost immediate? What's the response time? I'm curious because I've never done this before. Sorry? Quick. Quick means what? Zero latency, 10 milliseconds, 100, 200? It's immediate. Yeah, and the server is located close to Nice. So it's not in the building, it's not here. Definitely not. And we're running all through a common Wi-Fi. Somebody might be over 4G, I don't know. So this is actually iizi at runtime. And any application you build will have this speed. All right? If you make an update to the application, it will only affect the server. If you, for example, update the version of iizi, the iizi server becomes updated to version 2.0. Your device installation may not have the need to be changed because nothing has happened in the bootstrap layer there on the iiziRun software. So what will happen is that the iiziRun software will see that, okay, we've got a new server version. So he'll update himself. And that's it. No stores going through. You know, pretty simple. I think by now, I didn't actually forgot to make timing checks here. Anybody has a time limit clock? How much time remaining? 15. Okay. This will be fast then. So the general architecture, just to go through quickly. The VirtualSpace is the central part where you build your applications. This is a data modeling. We'll come into that. After that, you've got virtual sessions. You know, one virtual session is probably what we ran all together now, and then we had multiple client devices connected to a client gyro. We call it client gyro because it's the stabilizer that makes, you know, the clients work well and stabilize them. On the left-hand side, you've got one or several iiziApps here, which have an app gyro, which controls that the apps are working well and controls them and keeps them steady. And on the right-hand side, here we've got data providers or Java code, whatever not here, and also here, very important part, a transaction processor, which means that if you have, for example, multiple database requests, one going from that database and one going to that database, for example, a money transaction, this will be will make sure that the commit, the operation will complete correctly or not partially. It will roll back the entire thing. So it's a kind of a transaction processor. You should probably know about that. But if you're in just a single database, it's a single rollback. But if you're into multiple database sessions, you have to do multiple rollbacks and handle that nicely. And if you're also into web services, you can't always roll back. So that has to be, that's a tricky part. Anyway, business logic and data. You use the data connectors to populate the virtual space, like SQL, web services, but also legacy systems. And legacy systems, I mean screen scraping from terminal IBM systems, like old terminals on banks, insurance companies, and so on. We have that support. Now, I'm not going to talk here, but if you're interested in that, we have that integration. I can show you that at our booth later on. And any other Java code that you like, you can code. And there are lots of open interfaces available, and you can code it in the style you're accustomed to. Now, the development tool is called iiziGo, and it's now available as a drop-in on the Eclipse marketplace as of yesterday. It's still on early access, so you have to be a little nice to me or us in terms of bugs, but it's been around for a while now, and it's getting more and more stable, and we'd like your input. So don't hesitate. We're there with the support and all of that. Otherwise, you'll eventually hit our download site. And once you launch, for example, Photon, I always say Proton. It runs very well with 4.6, 7, and 8, which means neon, oxygen, and photon. And we have an executable version which actually also contains Java 1.7, 1.8 update 172 with unlimited cryptography enabled, which is a huge package, about 600 meg, pre-installed. You can't do anything wrong. Just download it, click yes, 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 and you're up and running in no time. Once you start, you come to this kind of a dialog box where you have to sign in. What happens is in this sign in, you say this is quite a lot of personal data. Yes, it is correct. It's quite a lot of personal data, but there is a reason for it. We have a business model that is slightly disrupting in terms of in the computing industry. We are going to give back money. We have a royalty system for developers, which means that if you create an app that runs on many places, you will get rewarded. It's much like musicians. When they play your music, you get paid, they get paid. So we introduce that to developers. So what will happen here in the registration phase is that you'll get a developer ID. You'll also get a code certificates, code signing certificate free of charge from us that you can use when you later on deploy your application. Because if you deploy your application and register it at the same time, you're entering the reward system, and you will get back 1% of the cost it costs for the end user to drive your system. This means if it's hosted, etc. The default is around 25 euros per concurrent client per month. And this is a recurring revenue which is doesn't end until they stop using your app. So your first project, basically you have a new wizard that actually starts directly after the registration, and you can name it, for example, EclipseCon. And here we will select to do phone and tablet and desktop. At the same time, we'll develop a multi-language application using English as a base language. So this is what it looks like when you divide them up, so you see all the four parts. This is the desktop part, this is the phone part, this is the tablet part, and this is the text tables. This is the only text that we take. The rest are translated automatically either by Azure Cognitive Services, which is free of charge, which we already have included, or by Google Translate, which we also have included, but with a limited account because it starts to cost money. So you get 1,000 translations for free, and then it will be disabled. You want it turned on, you go to the translation engine here, you configure it, you get an API key from Google, you enter it, and that's it, you're done. I mean, it really doesn't cost many cents to use this feature. And I must say, Google is a lot better than Microsoft Azure Translation Services. Hope there are non-Microsoft guys here. No. Okay, good. You then create a virtual space. This is where you actually do all the work. That's from the new menu. You select a virtual space, and you name it. A field, we can say that a virtual space is, you can compare it, if you want a comparison to what you're used to today, if you're a UI programmer or have done UI programming. That is a panel or a window that with all the components you have in there. And then you've got listeners to these components, right? And then you set data, you listen to data changes. When you push a button, you listen to the action. You make a selection in a list box, you listen to a selection event, right? The same way goes for VirtualSpace. However, it's been simplified to such an extent because there is no need to have combo boxes, spin buttons, and so on in a VirtualSpace. The only thing we need to have is a field, a table, and an action. That's it. With that, you can build an application. Now, the field, however, is not simple. It contains several data types. And the data types, whoops, I'm sorry. The data types are the known Java types, you know, string, Boolean, byte, short, integer, long, etc. But then you've got the union of JDBC styles with also the XML data types. So you've got XML Gregorian, calendar, and duration here. And you're also using the new Java dates time, what do you say, classes. And we also provide conversion between virtually any data type. And here, for example, just to demonstrate it, how it's done for a string, we can use a pattern here, which is entered, and this long value will be formatted with this pattern to this. And everywhere in the system where you bring in a tooltip, you'll get a help of where you are or what iizi is doing it. And that's all over the system. If it's not help for, if it's a text prompt, you'll get a help for that field or that prototype you're going to fill in. If you're hovering, for example, a panel within the tree, the Explorer, it will display the panel. You don't have to open it to see it. We've added that so that it's really fast navigation to use iizi. So then what you do is you build a UI attached to the VirtualSpace. Now I'm saying mobile first because the mobile components are not the same ones as the other ones for the desktop. The desktop has, for example, a menu bar, and these are the layouts for containers. I have to rushing up here. The data connectors are database connector and the web services. You enable them like this, skipping fast here. You can add BERT, which is an excellent database sample, which you add a connection profile and then you define it. There are localized versions, for example, in France, or French, or other languages. The database connector is built on the SQL builder. This is the part you'd recognize, and this is the new part we are doing. We're actually integrated with the eCore system to listen to what is being typed, to be able to define what is input variables and can be attributed to VirtualSpace and the outputs. So if you run it like this, once you have it, you run it, it can create the virtual table, you run it, it will populate the virtual table. And once you have connected it there, in the VirtualSpace editor, you'll see it populated like this. The web services works much the same way as a database, so all data connectors do. We have RESTful web services and SOAP. The RESTful web services are parsing XML, JSON, text, and well, some other one. This is an example of a JSON one where it takes an IP address from VirtualSpace field performs the request through this URL. It's a get URL to an open free source where you get this reply back, and this will be translated into the VirtualSpace and populated automatically. You don't have to write a single line of Java for it. Now, we're coming to the Java code I thought I'd never get here. I'm overdriving slightly. It's event-driven, so you attach methods in classes and you do it to the VirtualSpace, preferably not the UI. Why? Because you only code it once, right? Otherwise, we have a lot of different interfaces you can attach to, and you code it with the way you're standardized to with struts or whatever library you're using. A Java class is added to the VirtualSpace by just adding it normally, and we produce the code much like Eclipse does. But we add annotations so that if you hover there, you'll see the definition, the reference back to the VirtualSpace. So if you go and click here, you'll actually go back directly to where you were. Here we've added 3 methods to listen to creation method of the VirtualSpace, destruction of it, and then also the change of the IP field. And the code would result and look about like this. So it's tagged here with onVSCreate, onVSDestroy, onVSChange, and the name IP address. Sorry I'm going this fast. Specialized user classes could be a special focus provider. If you want to do something really advanced, fine, you do that. You just create it here, and in this particular case, I misnamed it, so I made a refactoring, and of course we handle the refactoring normally, so we will resolve this entry to the correct entry once you've corrected the class package name. You build and deploy your iiziApp by exporting it, by filling in your app ID, etc., that you got in your registration. Then you export it. We've got command line utilities for it. That's it. Then you can create a customized version of what you ran today as an iiziRun developer. We provide that from inside the tool. Quite a lot of information to fill in. Can guarantee you it will save you time. But what we'll actually do is to prepare an APK for Android, an app for the App Store, and a Windows version, and later on Mac, etc. We'll do all these packages together. We will provide you with a build machine remotely. If, for example, you're sitting on a Windows machine and you want to use our services to build it, the app version for the Mac version for you, we'll do it free of charge. And then you send it back to you. We host the app afterwards, but we can also provide you with hosting in-house if you wish. Now, the simple question is, who knows what iizi is? Thank you, guys. Sorry for overdriving. Yes. Sorry?
Is it producing native code?
It's not producing any code.
Oh yeah, but how is it running on the device? It's like native code, right?
No, it's a hybrid application. So the transport is done by secured WebSockets with a highly packed protocol, and inside of there is like definitions of here's an entry field, it's going to be this long. If the panel is moved, it will size like this. It's green and it has this contents. it's about 10 times shorter than HTML. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, I get it. So if I write some proprietary code on like in Java with my library and stuff like that.
Yes.
So it's executed on the server, right?
It's
executed on the server.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay.
Which means that generally you're sitting on the server side and you have a zero latency backbone where you're sitting there with gigabit or 10 gigabit Ethernet, rather than having the device connect and open and connect and open. That imposes security issues. At the back end, it's very secure. Okay. So the security level with iizi is very, very high.
So you provide a bunch of UI stuff, and the developer has to use these UI.
The components, yes.
So, for example, if I want to write an app with like a posting photo or like that.
Well, we have support, for example, for images.
Okay, like a UI photograph import.
We have graphs too, but I see where you're driving at. We are currently at version 1. What we're doing is building a lot more new widgets, and we will also be providing in the future the possibility for third parties or even you to create your own widgets, but it's not so easy to create a widget that works really well. I can guarantee you it's not so easy.
Yeah, I think so.
Because it's got to run everywhere. And it's got to be flawless and fast and no memory leakage. Okay. Thank you very much. Any other question? So thanks for bearing with me.